In the winter of 2027, historian Daniel Mercer arrived in Jerusalem after receiving a mysterious package containing documents nobody should have possessed. The envelope had no return address. Inside were several ancient parchment fragments, a silver cross wrapped in black cloth, and a handwritten sentence in Latin. They never disappeared. At first, Daniel believed the documents were fake. For centuries, the Knights Templar had remained one of history's greatest mysteries. Officially destroyed in the 14th century after accusations of heresy and betrayal, the order vanished almost overnight. Yet rumors survived. Stories about hidden vaults, secret tunnels beneath forgotten churches, treasures carried away before the arrests began. But one legend terrified historians more than all the others: the final Templar sanctuary. According to ancient accounts, a small group of knights escaped Europe carrying an artifact considered too dangerous to remain in human hands. Nobody knew what the object truly was. Some described it as a weapon. Others believed it revealed knowledge capable of destroying kingdoms. Every expedition searching for the sanctuary disappeared. Every record connected to it vanished mysteriously over time. And now Daniel held coordinates matching symbols found on lost Templar maps. The location pointed beneath the ancient city itself. That night, Daniel met Father Elias, an elderly priest who had spent decades studying forbidden medieval archives hidden beneath monasteries across Europe. The old priest looked terrified the moment he saw the silver cross. "Where did you find this?" "It arrived yesterday." Father Elias immediately locked the room door before lowering his voice. "You must destroy it." Daniel stared at him in confusion. "Why?" The priest hesitated for several seconds. "Because the Templars protected something that should never be found again." Outside the monastery, thunder rolled across the city while heavy rain struck the ancient stone streets. Father Elias slowly opened one of the old manuscripts spread across the table. Inside was a drawing of armored knights kneeling around a massive underground doorway covered in strange symbols. Beneath the image, a sentence had been written repeatedly in fading ink: "The gate must remain closed." Daniel leaned closer. "What gate?" The priest looked pale. "There are records describing tunnels beneath Jerusalem older than the city itself. The Templars discovered them during the Crusades. Whatever they found there changed them." Daniel frowned. "Changed them how?" Father Elias remained silent, then finally whispered, "The survivors stopped calling themselves men." The room fell quiet. Rain hammered harder against the monastery windows. Then suddenly the lights inside the chamber flickered once. The priest froze instantly. Slow footsteps echoed somewhere outside the hallway. Heavy, metallic, like armored boots moving slowly across stone. Daniel looked toward the door. "Are we expecting someone?" Father Elias whispered one final sentence before extinguishing the candles. They found the cross. Darkness filled the monastery chamber as the footsteps outside grew louder. Slow, heavy, metal scraping softly against stone. Daniel stood motionless beside the wooden table while Father Elias extinguished the final candle. Only faint moonlight entered through the narrow windows overlooking the ancient streets of Jerusalem. The footsteps stopped directly outside the door. Silence followed. Then came 3 slow knocks. Father Elias closed his eyes immediately, as if he already knew who waited outside. "Do not answer," he whispered. Another 3 knocks echoed through the chamber, stronger this time. The old wooden door trembled slightly beneath the impact. Daniel's heartbeat accelerated. "Who is that?" The priest slowly reached beneath the table and removed an old iron key wrapped in chains. "They have guarded the gate for centuries." Daniel stared in confusion. "The Templars?" Father Elias nodded weakly. "They were never destroyed. They simply disappeared beneath the city." Suddenly, the knocking stopped. For several seconds, the monastery became completely silent. Then a deep voice spoke calmly from the other side of the door. "You possess what belongs to the order." Daniel felt cold spread through his chest. The voice sounded unnatural, almost hollow, as if echoing from somewhere far underground. Father Elias whispered urgently, "We must leave now." The priest pushed aside an old bookshelf, revealing a narrow stone staircase descending into darkness beneath the monastery. Without hesitation, they hurried downward while distant sounds echoed behind them upstairs. Wood splintered violently. The door above had been forced open. Daniel followed Father Elias through the underground passage, while torchlight illuminated ancient walls covered in faded crosses and strange medieval symbols. The tunnels beneath Jerusalem stretched endlessly. Some sections appeared far older than the city itself. Then Daniel noticed something disturbing carved repeatedly into the stone. Identical symbols matching the parchment from the package. A circle surrounding a black doorway. And beneath it, always the same sentence. The gate must remain sealed. Behind them, metallic footsteps entered the tunnels. Closer now. Father Elias quickened his pace. They're following us. Who are they really? Daniel asked. The priest hesitated before answering. The first knights who entered the chamber beneath the city. Daniel frowned. What chamber? Father Elias stopped beside an enormous stone archway deep underground. Ancient iron doors stood partially open before them. Cold air drifted from the darkness beyond. The place they swore to protect forever. Then Daniel heard something move deep inside the darkness ahead. Not footsteps. Breathing. Massive. Slow. And somewhere far below the tunnels, a horn began echoing beneath the earth. The sound of the horn vibrated through the underground tunnels beneath Jerusalem like a warning from another age. Daniel's flashlight trembled slightly in his hand as Father Elias pushed open the ancient iron doors. The chamber beyond was enormous. Massive stone pillars disappeared into darkness above while hundreds of burning candles illuminated ancient walls covered with faded Templar symbols. At the center of the chamber stood a circular pit surrounded by armored statues kneeling toward the abyss below. But they were not statues. Daniel realized the truth slowly. They were bodies. Ancient knights wearing blackened armor remained frozen around the pit exactly where they had knelt centuries earlier. None had decayed. Their empty helmets faced downward into the darkness. Father Elias whispered a prayer beneath his breath. The guardians. Then one of the armored figures moved. A slow metallic sound echoed through the chamber as the knight lifted its head toward them. Daniel stumbled backward in horror. Inside the helmet there was no face. Only darkness. More armored figures began moving around the pit. The ancient knights slowly stood one after another while rusted swords scraped against stone floors. Daniel could barely breathe. They're alive. Father Elias shook his head weakly. No, not alive. The horn echoed again from deep beneath the pit. Louder now, calling them. The armored knights turned simultaneously toward the abyss in the center of the chamber. Then all of them knelt again at once. Silence returned. Daniel slowly approached the edge of the pit despite Father Elias warning him to stay back. Cold air poured upward from the darkness below. And somewhere far beneath the earth, something enormous moved. Then Daniel saw it. A faint red light glowing deep below the pit. Pulsing slowly, almost like a heartbeat. Suddenly whispers filled the chamber. Ancient voices speaking in languages Daniel could not understand. The red light below intensified. Then a voice emerged clearly from the abyss itself. Open the gate. The armored knights immediately lowered their heads further. Father Elias looked terrified. We have to leave now. But before they could move, metallic footsteps echoed once more from the tunnel behind them. Several figures wearing black cloaks entered the chamber silently. Each carried silver Templar crosses, and every one of them held a sword. The tallest figure stepped forward slowly, then removed his hood. His face looked impossibly old, but his eyes were completely black. The black-eyed man stared directly at Daniel across the chamber. Around him, the cloaked knights remained perfectly silent while candlelight reflected across their ancient silver crosses. Father Elias stepped backward immediately. You should not have come here, the priest whispered. The old knight ignored him. Instead, he looked toward the glowing abyss beneath the chamber. The seal is weakening. His voice sounded calm, but something unnatural echoed beneath every word. Daniel tightened his grip on the flashlight. What is this place? The knight slowly turned toward him. This is where the order buried the first gate. The red light beneath the pit pulsed violently again. The entire chamber trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling stones above. Then the whispers returned. Louder now. Hundreds of voices speaking simultaneously beneath the earth. Daniel felt pressure building inside his head, as if the chamber itself was alive. What's under there? He asked. For the first time, fear appeared in the knight's black eyes. Something the Templars were never meant to find. The horn echoed again, this time directly beneath them. Closer. Suddenly, one of the kneeling armored guardians beside the pit stood violently upright. Its helmet slowly turned toward Daniel. Then another rose. And another. The chamber filled with metallic movement as dozens of ancient knights lifted their swords toward the darkness below. The red light exploded upward from the abyss. For one brief second, Daniel saw enormous shapes moving far beneath the pit. Not human. Something ancient. Something waiting. Then the black-eyed knight shouted a single command in Latin. Every cloaked Templar drew their swords instantly. The guardians around the pit slammed their blades into the stone floors simultaneously. Boom. The chamber shook violently. The red light below dimmed slightly. But the whispers became screams. Daniel covered his ears in pain. Then the pit began opening wider. Stone cracked apart around its edges, while freezing air burst upward from the abyss. The black-eyed knight grabbed Daniel suddenly. "You brought the cross back. That means the gate has chosen you." "What are you talking about?" But before the knight could answer, a massive hand emerged slowly from the darkness below the pit. Not human. Far too large. Covered in black armor older than anything in the chamber. Then another hand appeared beside it. Something beneath the earth was climbing upward. The chamber descended into chaos beneath Jerusalem. Ancient knights surrounded the widening pit, while the massive armored figure continued climbing slowly from the abyss below. Its black armor looked fused directly into its body. Chains dragged behind it across the stone like broken prison restraints. And inside the helmet burned two deep red lights. The whispers filling the chamber became unbearable. Daniel collapsed to one knee as strange visions flooded his mind. Wars, burning cities, armies kneeling before something hidden beneath the earth. Then he understood. The Templars had never protected treasure. They had protected a prison. The black-eyed knight raised his sword toward the creature emerging from the pit. "For 7 centuries we kept the gate sealed." The creature continued climbing upward silently. Its armored hands gripped the stone edges with impossible strength. Then the chamber lights extinguished instantly. Darkness swallowed everything except the glowing red eyes below. Father Elias whispered desperately beside Daniel. "The cross, destroy the cross." Daniel looked down at the silver Templar cross still hanging around his neck. The metal had become burning hot. Symbols across its surface glowed faintly red. Then the creature spoke for the first time. Its voice shook the chamber itself. "You opened the path." The ancient guardians charged simultaneously. Dozens of armored knights attacked the creature at once while swords clashed against black armor beneath showers of sparks. But the thing from the pit barely moved. One swing of its massive arm sent several knights crashing across the chamber walls. The black-eyed knight turned toward Daniel one final time. "Seal the gate before dawn." Then he charged forward into battle. Daniel stumbled toward the center of the chamber while cracks spread rapidly around the pit. The red light beneath the abyss grew brighter with every second. More shapes moved below, more things climbing upward. Father Elias shouted prayers while the chamber collapsed around them. Without fully understanding why, Daniel raised the glowing cross toward the pit. The symbols on the ancient walls ignited instantly. Every Templar in the chamber dropped to one knee, and the creature finally stopped moving. For one terrible moment, silence returned. Then the gate beneath the earth began closing. Slowly, violently, the armored creature roared as the abyss pulled it downward once more. The final thing Daniel saw before darkness consumed the chamber was the black-eyed knight standing beside the pit, watching silently as the gate sealed beneath the earth again. Then everything collapsed. Days later, rescue workers searching beneath the old monastery found nothing. No chamber, no tunnels, no bodies. Only a single silver Templar cross buried beneath the stone floor, still warm to the touch.